I've got the fan on again. Now, before I jump into really discussing this episode, I need to point out a couple of things. One, I'm not going to be able to remember, like, everything that, I got brainwaves about while watching this episode and everyone else's videos, so you're probably going to want to watch those videos. And on a more humorous note, almost all of them break the language barrier and all have curse words in them, except ironically, Jeff's Survive Alive video. Like, what the heck? I mean, like, what? Is this open season? Is this a swearing? Hilarious. Okay, enough of that. Now, so, this was actually a really good episode. It's making me a lot more hyped about this season, and I'm actually tempted to say this one's better than the last one. I don't know. So hopefully I can remember a lot of the things. So, everyone gets back from Tribal. There's really not that much to comment about there. And then we move on to that, reward challenge / duel. John wins the rock, paper, scissors competition between him and whoever the other guy was. Reed, perhaps, I think. I've mostly got the names down. And then he ends up volunteering himself. I mean, like, in hindsight, we should expect that he does that, but at the same time, you know, looking at that duel thing, you would be wondering, like, what the heck is he doing there? Now, Val mentioned to Jeff and possibly Rob's sister Nino that she thinks that he realized the potential benefits of the duel and such, but I honestly think he was doing it just to be a hotshot, like with many people out there, and I even saw a few comments suggesting that he intentionally lost. Do you see how pissed he was that you cannot fake that level of anger that his girlfriend beat him or that he kept stumbling? No way did he fake that, come on. Sheesh. But, yeah, that actually was fairly tense, and I thought it would be pretty awesome if Julie was to beat him, and she did. And, by the way, does anyone think that she kind of looked like Angelina Jolie when she was, you know, holding the platform thing and doing these squinty looks? You know, she kind of reminded me of how I've seen various pictures of her. So yeah, Julie totally beats her boyfriend. It sends him to Exile Island, and choosing a Jeremy, well, unlike Jeremy choosing Keith, there really isn't too much merit for it, and I also don't totally get why she says, you've been through a lot of hardship, like having to send your wife to Exile Island, so I'm gonna send you to Exile Island, you know? It just doesn't really make that much sense. Now, it could be that there is no reason, and that she just chose a random person, but yeah. And I can't really remember if Jeremy ever talked to her last episode. I know he talked to Keith, I know he talked to Kelly, and I know he talked to Missy. So, that's that. Oh yeah, and how do I feel about Natalie crying when she learns that her sister had been voted out? Well, as she and Nadia have revealed up to this point, their bond isn't completely like the others, because, you know, she herself said some people have been together 5 or 6 years and know each other all their lives, but she and her sister, they've always been within like a few feet of each other for most of their lives, so yeah, that's a pretty different bond than most of us are familiar with, and like I can't even fully grasp how devastated that she must have been feeling. That's tough. But hopefully this doesn't, how should I phrase this? Okay, I don't mean to be offensive towards Natalie or Nadia, but like I'm really hoping that in later episodes Natalie starts acting a little more like her sister, because Nadia revealed that the two of them were, you know, fairly outspoken, standing up for their opinions, and the way this episode edited Natalie, albeit this is only the 2nd episode and there's still tons of people, you know, all we got from her was the crying, so I really hope she starts behaving a little bit more like her sister, even though that could potentially mean that she'll leave, but just like, you know, I'd rather think of the twins the same way, you know? So, Jeremy and a Rocker on Exile Island. Jeremy gets the clue. I think most of us were expecting that, to be honest. Just Rocker, you know, given the amount of bad luck he was having up till this point, and then later on, more of that later, just, that was totally expected. And Jeremy decides to share it with him. Well, it is his choice after all, and I bet there's going to either be a lot of that, or people just saying it's probably already been found by now, because, let's face it, if Rocker can figure out the clue like that, most people would be able to figure that out. But turns out I was kind of wrong on how Exile Island managed to hit the immunity idols, because given how they hid the idol at each cap this season, even though we haven't seen the idol at Hanapu, right? Even though we haven't seen that idol, you aren't going to be able to just randomly find this idol, because it's buried in the ground in a specific place. If it was buried in something, you could, but it's not going to work here. So, yeah, it turns out Exile Island was beneficial for that, and the social relations, as this episode demonstrated. So Jeremy, even though he knows who Rocker is, shares the clue with him and pitches basically the deal that Boston Rob pitched to Lex: take care of her, I'll take care of you and her. Well, obviously it's not going to work the same way it happened for Boston Rob, because, well, Boston Rob is Boston Rob, you know, and All Stars was a little bit of a mess, because a lot of people that we liked did get more negative edits, although ironically I preferred Rob in All Stars to his first season, but whatever, not here to talk about All Stars. But here it's different. The people aren't as grounded in emotional relations, and who knows, it does have the possibility to work. It'll be interesting to see if there's more deals like that going to be made in the future. But I still find it kind of strange that Jeremy would give it to Rocker, especially since Rocker has insulted all groups of people out there minus religion, because he's done the women in this episode, and as Rob and everyone else said, racist, and whatever the other term is, I'm blanking on it right now. Oh yeah, homophobe, yeah. Sorry about that. That is just sometimes vocabulary just escapes your brain like that. Spent too much time talking about these two, so other tribal dynamics. Hanapu, the blue tribe, well, since they didn't lose, not that much is happening there, although I'm surprised that the idol there hasn't been found. Hopefully it gets revealed into that next episode, and then, what else was there? Oh yeah, Hanapu losing their flint and the bargaining at the reward challenge. When I first heard get rid of the beans for the flint, yeah, I'll admit, once I fully registered the idea, that's not good enough, because, like, well, first of all, I don't think that many people would like beans anyway, but that's just a small, lesser deserved part of the challenge and such. So, yeah, Jeff making them give it all up, that makes sense, and I love how he kind of forced them to do it, but here's something that's interesting. One of the guys at AfterBuzz, I think it was Justin, threw out the idea that had Hanapu kept their mouths shut, there was a darn good possibility that production would have left them flint again anyway, because as everyone revealed the various behind-the-scenes things in their videos, that's why you should watch them for this episode, producers now always want the tribes out there to have flint. This isn't like old school where they give them legal supplies and actually make them survive. That's one reason I'm honestly a bit surprised that, you know, Eric had trouble in Caramel, where if he had been in like Australian Outback, he would have just sucked. Yeah. So that was a good move by Jeff to make Hanapu go down that option, and hopefully he actually manages to get through this season without any blemishes. Right. Fast forward to the immunity challenge. I love that challenge. Seeing everyone go at it. That was, I think, the most brutal version of the sumo that we've done I've seen, because while Palau was kind of brutal, that was a much more lighthearted season than this season, in my opinion. In HVV, well, it was comic relief, because the heroes won every heat. And then the original Blood was Water, partial comic relief and partial just whatever. But yeah, I loved seeing everyone go at it, and you know, we had some good matchups because like Kelly versus Jackie or Jacqueline, the Ditzy Blondes, I think somebody named them. Yeah, that was a little bit ridiculous. And then there was the battle of the old dudes. Well, I was glad that Dale tried, but really only because I was curious how they would settle that fifth and final round, even though it was actually 2 out of 3, and then the tribe gets the point. Meaning that, yes, Rocker lost twice to John. On the other tribe, yeah, and like he almost broke his nose somewhat. Yeah, what do we got? Another Stallone? Oh yeah, you see this nose? It's never been broken. Missy vs. Baylor. Well, yeah, I understand why she gave up because, like, I might actually do that even if it's just a total stranger because, like, I mean, like, you obviously want to beat them, but you don't want to hurt anybody. Yeah. And then the Drew comic confusing the gay guys. Yeah. So the Orange Tribe loses again. I was kind of hoping that would happen. Then they go back to camp, and then Val starts doing everything she can to try and save herself because it turns out Exile Island is kind of backfiring on her, which was disappointing because, well, I was disappointed that, you know, Candace and her husband ended up getting ostracized from their tribes because of arriving late and such, so it's kind of the same situation here, and it's pretty disappointing. And it's also disappointing that the Orange Tribe so far has voted along sexist lines, because I was really hoping that this wouldn't happen given the inequality of guys versus girls. Now, I'm not so pissed if a woman is the first person voted out of a season, because the vast majority of Survivor seasons have had women leave first. That I'm not picky about, even though it is interesting to see that common thing happen over and over again, but yeah, I didn't want it to be sexist, so it's kind of disappointing, even though the episodes have been interesting. I'm not going to really talk about everyone jumping back and forth because it's so complicated that I can barely get my head around it. I just knew that it was going to be an interesting tribal, and I wasn't completely sure who I wanted to see tribe, since Baylor was kind of throwing some bad remarks towards Val, even though it was kinda deserved and understandable given the nature of things there. At Tribal Council, I honestly expected Baylor to go, especially once it was 4 votes her and 3 votes Val, but then somebody ends up actually voting for Val instead of Baylor. Given how many votes that they showed going up to the urn, we know the votes of Val, Rocker, and Jacqueline. They all voted for Baylor, and that Baylor and Wes voted for Val the first time, so that still leaves Dale, Josh, and who's the other guy? Alec? Yeah, that's it. So obviously 2 of them voted for Val, and 1 of them voted for Baylor, but it seemed like somebody switched their vote to go to Val. When I first saw that, I originally was thinking that actually it could be Josh that changed his vote, and that seems to be the main theory, but I don't know, it just seems a little too easy, to be honest. I don't know. Then on the revote, everyone's starting to vote for Val again, especially Rocker. Well, that makes sense, because Rocker, I do believe that he was trying to, balance both being in the guys plus Baylor alliance, and then keep his promise to Jeremy. But it turns out that Val lied to him, even though he didn't tell Val that he had the idol. But from the edit, it looks like they never asked, or Val might have known, I can't remember. But him switching, it makes sense, because, if Val isn't telling the truth to him, and she's gonna go anyway, yeah. So it was disappointing to see Val go, but that's the nature of things, and that was a pretty interesting tribal, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens if this tribe loses again consecutively, because if they do, things are going to boil over even more. Although, based on the next time previews, it could be that we get a little bit more from Hunapu, the blue tribe, and that would be interesting also, because there's no way the blue tribe is going to win every challenge, and they're probably going to do a tribe swap, so whatever. So, this video, I mean, was kind of me all over the place again, but this episode had so much go on, and I had so many reactions that it's kind of tough for me to condense it down. And honestly, even though I'm loving the episodes, I'm having a tough time talking about them. I don't know why. It could be that just something's not right up here with me. I don't know, but I'm definitely continuing with this. Oh yeah.